Oh no! Rust! What's up everybody? Welcome to the show. Today we're gonna be taking care of something very common on a lot of older cars, and that is rust. That's right, we're gonna be doing some general rust repair on an E31 door. I'm gonna show you how I identified the rust, how I removed the rust, and how I replace it with an 18 gauge piece of metal bent to size. Stay tuned, guys. So here's the door. It's an E31 8 series door, and as I was going through and removing all the rubber trim, I saw that this area was in bad shape, so we need to replace the metal that's in there. But how do we do that? Generally speaking, you want to use the same gauge that you have on your door. In this case, we have an 18 gauge piece of sheet metal. Let me tell you what gauges are in terms of sheet metal length, size, so you can compare them. This one here is a 16 gauge. You can see it's quite thick there, right? It's hard to see actually. But if you compare it to what I want to use here, you can see the difference in the thickness and how this is actually going to be faring very well to what we need for the door. So what we need to do is basically, before we do any cutting, we have to bend this piece, cut it to shape, make sure it fits perfectly in its location, and then we trace around it and cut. So first, let's clean this piece off. Let's cut it to size, let's shape it, and let's get it fitting exactly where we want, and then we can trace. My piece cut to size, right? You can see it basically is gonna fit like right there. And this character line is going to end up getting cut. So let's just trace this out right here, just like this, right? Right, just like that. I'm actually gonna leave this part untraced because I know it's going to go right there. Oh no. Okay. So I also want a straight line here, rust out. That's gonna be the location where the new piece is gonna end up residing. And the reason I didn't draw this line here is because I knew that after cutting this piece off right here, that it was actually going to depress down a little bit, or go into, since this is no longer there. So that's why I moved that line inward more. So let's cut this up and see what happens. Okay, you can see that I've got the ground cable connected, and I have my MIG welder set to a very low setting. I do not want to burn through this metal. All I need to do here is hold this in place and then give it small tacks. Small tacks prevents any type of warpage, and you tack a little here, then there, then back to here, up there, kind of like a star pattern when you're putting your wheels on. Okay, that is not very pretty, but it lines up really nice, and all I need to do is give it a couple more tacks. There we go. Go. Down here. Okay, just about done, and I had to expand outside of my original footprint because I thought that the welds were not making as much adhesion as I wanted, so I ended up putting a couple more passes in. And that's okay. I'm gonna end up putting a little bit of filler on this. I wanted to avoid it, but with this complex bend, I think that sometimes it's something you have to do, which is great because I could show you how to do that as well and smooth this all out and get this looking exactly the way that it should, the way that it did before. So this is my urethane filler. It's like a glaze. It's a very smooth, thin, and since I don't really need to do much actual body work to that, just basically smooth it out and make it nice and level, this is perfect. It's called a U-pole. It's a UP0714, link down in the description. This as well are basically, they're called clean sheets. These are the CS100 you can get from Repaint Supply. or R&E paint supply. And these things are awesome because it's like basically like a book, and you can remove the sheets. They're very thick pieces of paper, and as you use it as a mixing pad, you can use this as kind of like the easel you hold, and then you fan it out where you need, and then when you're done and this thing dries, you just basically take this sheet and just tear it off, and you're down to a brand new sheet. Pretty cool, and it's a really great alternative than using the cardboard that you see there. So what we want to do is take some of this with its hardener, mix it up, put it on that, let it sit, and then sand it off. Now that everything is nice and smooth, at this point, still rolling. Take two. Okay, at this point, now that everything is nice and smooth, we're gonna use a painting prep, which is basically kind of like an acetone can that basically removes all the oils and dust. And then we're gonna use a simple filler primer, and then we're gonna sand it all down with 600. So let's do this. This will be quick. Spray it down, wipe it down. Get around the outside area here too, because we're going to be spraying basically this area too of exposed metal. Okay. Doesn't take very long to dry. Once it dries, which is basically after about 10 seconds, we can now shake this primer up really good. And good. And then just give it light passes. That's it, light passes. Start your spray paint before the part and end it after the part, so there's no beginning sludge of paint getting onto the part. Keep a nice safe distance away. Blend the paint, the primer rather. At this point, just a matter of doing another coat, and it is done. I decided to sand off the rest of the door and including the primer, and it is smooth as a baby's bottom. This guy is done and ready for primer and ready for paint on this E31 S85. So let's really quickly recap what we did. We basically cut out the old rust. We put in our new panel piece of 18 gauge steel, and then we welded it, and then we grinded the welds down. We put body filler on it because it was imperfect after grinding, and then we sanded that down, put primer over it, sanded the primer down, and made sure everything was nice and smooth. My name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic. I hope you enjoyed this new edition of How To on general car maintenance. My name is Frank. I'm out of here. Later.